Take someone who has been practicing Neville for a year. They do their SATs every night. They repeat affirmations throughout the day, in the shower, on the commute, before bed. They know how to feel the state. And then they wake up, and within 40 minutes, the familiar version of themselves is fully back in charge. The desired state has dissolved again, so they affirm more. Here is what nobody tells that person. The affirmations are not reinforcing the new self, they are recreating the old one. Every time you affirm, you are broadcasting from the position of someone who does not yet have what they want. The subconscious reads the emotional posture underneath the statement, not the content. And the emotional posture of affirmation is need, which is absence, which is the old self. By the end of this video, you will understand why reaffirming is the mechanism that keeps the old identity in place, and you will know which specific hours of your day are doing that work without your awareness. But there is a signal that tells you whether the new identity has actually taken root, and I want to show you that signal before I give you the application, because without it, most people never know if anything is working. There is a pattern I have seen repeat with person after person who reaches a plateau in this practice. They start out right, early results come, small things shift in unexpected ways. The techniques feel genuine during the session, and then the results become inconsistent, so they assume the fix is more input, more sessions, more affirmations between sessions, longer visualizations. This is the exact moment the practice inverts. The plateau practitioner is no longer inhabiting an identity, they are arguing for one. There is a real difference. One is posture, the other is effort. An effort in Neville's frame is the signal that the assumption has not been accepted. The deeper mind does not respond to insistence. It responds to the state that insistence is masking. Here is the arc in full. A practitioner does 3 SAT sessions per day. Between sessions, they repeat affirmations to hold the state. Each affirmation is generated from the feeling that the state needs to be held, which means it is generated from the feeling that the state is at risk. And that underlying feeling, not the words, is what the subconscious receives. Then they slow down, not stop practicing, but stop the compulsive repetition. One session, the assumption held to completion, the rest of the day spent as if the matter is settled. And within days, something shifts qualitatively. The state stops feeling like something being built and starts feeling like something being rested in. That is the turning point, and it is the one the plateau never reaches as long as the affirmation pace continues. This is what Neville was actually teaching in Feeling is the Secret from 1944. The subconscious does not process language, it processes states. What you feel yourself to be is what impresses the deeper mind. What you tell yourself you want is a declaration of absence. Most teachers flatten that into feel it intensely. That is the wrong reading. Neville was not describing emotional intensity. He was describing the quality of a settled assumption, the feeling of someone for whom this is already true, not performed, not generated, just inhabited. This is the part of Neville's work most people read straight past, so let me be precise about it. Wanting is absence. The felt experience of wanting is the felt experience of not having. When you affirm, I am wealthy from a background of financial anxiety, you are not impressing wealth, you are impressing wealth as something this person is reaching for. The subconscious answers with precision. Now, here is where the gap between practice and the rest of the day matters most. If you hold a new assumption for 1 hour, and the remaining 23 hours carry the ambient narration of the old identity, you are outvoted by a large margin inside your own consciousness. The practice is not the problem, the unmanaged hours are. An affirmation used to fill those hours does not close the gap, it installs the reaching posture into those hours repeatedly. More reaching, more distance from the assumed state. Before I get to the application, let me name the counterintuitive part. The hours most likely to be reinstalling the old self are not the dramatic moments of obvious doubt. They are the ordinary transitional moments, the commute, the space between tasks, the ambient self-talk that runs when the mind is not deliberately directed. Those are the hours where the dominant assumption is being rehearsed, and most practitioners do not touch them at all. In The Power of Awareness from 1952, Neville uses the image of a farmer planting a seed. A farmer does not plant and then dig up the seed each morning to check its progress. The checking undoes what the planting did. Consciousness works identically. The new assumption must be impressed once, completely, and then left alone for the deeper processes to work on it. Every affirmation sent from a posture of absence is checking whether the seed is growing, and the subconscious registers the check itself, not the content of what is being checked for. The late 1950s lectures in Los Angeles returned to this theme repeatedly. Neville documented the difference between practitioners who had compound, sustained results and those who had occasional results. The separator was not the quality of their visualization sessions. It was whether they had at some point settled into the new identity as a resting posture, or whether they were still managing it. Managing keeps you in effort, and effort is not neutral. It communicates to the subconscious that the state has not arrived and must be worked toward. Settling is its own kind of proof that the assumption has landed. It is the posture of a person who does not need to convince themselves of anything. Now, here is the signal I mentioned in the opening, the one that tells you whether the new identity has actually taken root. It is not that a specific result appears. Results can come and still be exceptions to a dominant old identity. The signal is this: the new state stops requiring effort to return to. You notice at some point during the day that you are simply operating from the desired reality without having consciously entered it. No return journey, because you never left. That is the signal. If you want to understand where your own assumption actually lives, there is a quiet test. Notice the feeling tone that runs in the background of your ordinary hours, not during your session, between them. Is it the background of someone for whom the desired state is already true? Or is it the background of someone waiting for it to arrive? Most practitioners who answer honestly find the background is waiting. If you want to map this out more precisely, the free source code diagnostic in the description is designed exactly for this. It walks you through identifying which specific hours are running your dominant assumption and what to put in their place. It is free. Link is in the description. Here is what to do starting tonight. 3 steps. First, at the end of your next practice session, when the settled quality of the new state is clearest, mark that quality in your own mind, not the emotional charge, the settledness, something complete. That is your compass point. Second, tomorrow, when the mind reaches for an affirmation in response to an uncomfortable external condition, pause. Ask, am I returning to an assumption already established, or am I trying to establish one through repetition? If you are trying to establish it, stop. Return to the settled quality from last night's session instead. Third, once each day, around midday, when the practice state has naturally faded most, check the background. If it is the background of waiting rather than having, do one brief return to the settled state, 30 seconds. Not an affirmation, a return, then release it and continue. The rest of the day is not a practice session, it is the proof that the session worked. The reason your results have been inconsistent is not the technique. It is that 1 hour of correct practice cannot carry 23 hours of assumption running the opposite direction. The affirmations in between, issued from a background of absence, are not bridging the gap. They are sustaining the gap. Seeing this is the first half. Closing it is the second half, and that is the work that needs a structured protocol, not just an insight. The source code diagnostic in the description gives you that structure. It is the tool built to identify exactly where the old assumption is consolidating in your day and give you the framework to recalibrate those hours. Free in the description below. Tonight, do not add another affirmation. Do one session. Hold the new state to its completion. Then rest in it, not as a test, but as a person for whom it is simply true. In his lectures during the early 1960s, Neville taught, you must stop asking and start accepting. The old self was maintained by the asking. The new one arrives the moment accepting takes its place.